Good afternoon, everyone. So, my name is Jatin Gupta, and I am here to just tell you a bit about how do you approach geography for prelims, right? Geography has been a very important part for the prelims preparation as well as had a lot of weightage in the past years. I'll just try to take you through something very interesting right now. So this is the kind of weightage which geography had in 2012, 13, 14 and 15. Did any one of you appear for prelims 2016? How many questions were there? 3. ठीक है. So now this year UPSC has sort of just tried to play a guessing game with the students. There were only three questions, three questions which are there in 2016 from geography, and usme bhi there was just one which was very basic, which where they had asked about the tributaries of Brahmaputra. Then there was a question which was about Baghelkhand and Bundelkhand and a lot of other things, which could have been easily solved by you even if you didn't know the geography as such. And then there was third question, which was very current affairs oriented kind of a question, which was about the presence of natural gas. Where is shale gas? Sorry, have been found, which are the areas in which shale gas has been found. So these were the only three questions which were there in 2016. But not to say that in 2017 also there will be only three questions. And in any case, you have to prepare your geography for mains also, you know. So therefore, it's very important that you focus on this subject. And one thing which I always tell to students is that do not compartmentalize your preparation for geography. Geography is not a subject which should be prepared first for prelims and then for mains. Most of the syllabus is very common. Just that when you talk about mains, there are few other things which get added, but that would be more in terms of current affairs and location of industries, etc. But that should be known to you for prelims as well, because UPSC has been asking questions from that and those areas also earlier in prelims. And that's about 2013, 14, 15 and all of those things. Once since the pattern and the syllabus has changed. So this is what your prelim syllabus reads like, right? There is not anything fancy which is written there. Just two things are written: the Indian and the world geography, physical, social, economic geography of India and world. That's all what is written there. So there are three parts: physical, social, and the economic geography of India and the world. That is all they have mentioned as the part of prelim syllabus. So now, and from that they tend to ask 14, 18 or maybe even 3 questions. Now, what are the sources which are to be referred? So what I'll do in this session is that I'll just try to tell you what are the major sources which you should be referring, how you could go about reading those sources. And then second thing which would be important would be that we would look into some of the questions which have been asked by UPSC in the prelims in the previous years and try to see or try to go into the mind of the examiner. What is the kind of thinking which is there behind the questions? Do we need to specifically read all the books from cover to cover? Do we need to remember each and every detail which is mentioned in the books, or some conceptual understanding could help us, or some guesswork could help us? So we will try to figure that out. Now, as far as the sources are concerned, this is the first and the most important source which is there, which is the fundamentals of physical geography. I am assuming that a few of you had also attended how to prepare geography mains class just a few days back, and I had come out with all those. I somehow kept the other book somewhere, but this is one book which is very important, class 11 fundamentals of physical geography. Okay. Then there is one more book which is fundamentals of human geography. So this is the book which is there. Fundamentals of human geography, fundamentals of physical geography. There are a few chapters which you can sort of skip, which talk about the evolution of landforms, the riverine landforms, glacial landforms, karst topography, etc. Those chapters can be skipped. Other than that, all the chapters have to be read through thoroughly. The fundamentals of physical geography, class 11th book. Apart from that, there is fundamentals of human geography book also, which I just showed you. This book you can read in entirety. It's not going to take a lot of time. Maybe if you're running like really short of time, you could skip through some of the chapters which are there. But again, that I would not advise you. But chapter number 5 to 9, that is unit 3 of this particular book, Fundamentals of Human Geography, class textbook for class 12th, is important. So please do go through this particular book, right? Then apart from that, there is similar counterparts which you have for these two books in the NCERT of class 11th and 12th, class 12th also, which pertains to Indian geography, where they talk about physical geography of India and the human geography of India. So those two books are also important. So the 4 NCERTs have to be read through thoroughly, both for your prelims and mains preparation. Okay, even if you are an optional student of geography, then also I would recommend that you should definitely read through these books in the first go. Now, then there is one more book. In case if you find the language which is given in the NCERT, especially in the fundamentals of physical geography, you do not have geography or optional, you have not joined any of the coaching classes, you do not have much of an idea about how to prepare, and you are finding that jargon which is given in the 11th class book to be a bit tough, what you could do is that you could buy this book called the Total Geography. There are 2 books which are available. It's an ICSC board book for class 9th and for class 10th. So you can buy these 2 books. They are available in any of the general bookstores, or you could find them online as well on Amazon, Flipkart, etc. Where you could, these 2 books are written in a much more lucid manner as compared to the NCERT. They also go beyond the usual things which are given in the NCERT and have a bit more analytical edge in these, in some of the topics, especially the book on class 9th for fundamentals of the physical geography. It's a good replacement for this particular book. I would not necessarily say it's a good replacement, but just in case if you are not able to understand or read things in this particular book, or let's say you are appearing for the second or the third time and you have sort of got bored of this particular book, so then you can buy the Total Geography by the ICSC board. Okay. And then obviously the certificate physical and human geography by GC Leong is a very important book which has to be definitely referred by you, right? Now a lot of students have doubts that should we be reading the entire book. See, the chapters for prelims perspective, I would suggest that chapters number 11, 12 and 11 to 25 are very important, right? So these chapters should be definitely done by you, the last 14 chapters of the book. And if you want to, then you can also do chapter number 1, 2, 3 and 4, right? So these are also the chapters which can be done by you. Rest of the chapters can be skipped, but most essentially the chapters in this book which are really important for your understanding of geography is chapter number 15 to 25. I'll just come to that in a while, that why are these chapters so important, and especially more so for prelims perspective, because prelims may there are questions which are directly sort of straight asked out of this particular chapter. You might not be able to solve those questions if you have just read the NCERT, because the clarity would not be there so much. So therefore it's better that you go through the certificate physical and human geography as well. And then there are 2 other books which are very important, not considered as books by some of the people, and which I always suggest. One is the Orient Blank Swan School Atlas, and then the Oxford Student Atlas for India, right? So these are 2 books which are very important. This is especially very important for Indian, and this is important for world, right? Someone had asked a question that day, sir, कि दोनों खरीदना जरूरी है. So in that, मैंने उस दिन एक बहुत ही, हाँ, मैंने एक जोक मारा था, याद होगा सबको, है ना? So that's why if until unless आपको बहुत ज़्यादा कोई financial constraint नहीं है, तो I would suggest that आप दोनों खरीद लीजिए. And it's an investment, it's a good investment, right? So that would be there. Now, when I talk about the school atlas and what are the kind of questions which have been asked, if you could see, some of the questions have been straight away asked out of the atlas in the prelims, and I would not say the same for mains as such, even though for mains also this atlas is very important part of your preparation, but for prelims it becomes doubly important because there are questions which are straight away asked out of this particular book. So for example, there was a question which was there asked, I think in 2014, where they had asked that which of the following pairs of islands, or 2013 if I'm not wrong, where they had asked that which one of the following pairs of islands is separated from each other by 10-degree channel. Even though this is given in the NCERT also, but if you would have referred the atlas on a regular basis, you would have definitely been able to recollect that between the Andaman and the Nicobar Islands that the 10-degree channel exists, right? So that should sort of it will come very naturally to you if you keep referring the atlas on a daily basis. And something which I had suggested in the main session also, that it's also a good habit that you could buy the physical and the world physical maps of India and world, the big maps which are there, and you could paste them in your rooms, right? And the important locations could be marked with the help of highlighters, etc. So some of the important mountains such as the Andes or the Rockies, or let's say the Appalachian Mountains or the Ural Mountains, or where are the Alps Mountains, and all of those things, those could be marked on those particular maps only, so that when even as you're moving around in your room and daily on a daily basis also, you could go through those items, right? And also suggest this, that right, geography is something which will start coming naturally to you only when you start going through the maps and when you start going through the atlas, right? So geography is a subject which communicates through maps, and you have to understand that language. And it's very important that you try and get at least a broad perspective of where are the major oceans of the world located, which are the major mountain ranges of the world, right? Where are the major deserts of the world located? If you just understand those things in perspective, it will be much easier for you to deal with a lot of questions in geography, not only in prelims but also in mains, and it will be very useful for you also in several other areas of your entire preparation, whether it is essay, okay, because geography is something which can relate to almost all the topics in your syllabus, whether it is security, whether it is disaster management, environment, economy of a particular place, even the polity and the governance of a place is determined by geography, and even the history of a place is determined by geography. Societal conditions, lot of things are determined by geography. So therefore, you should have a good hold over this particular subject, right? At least have a bit of understanding of, आपको इतना पता होना चाहिए that you should know where Malwa Plateau is, where Bundelkhand is, where Chhattisgarh Plateau is, right? Where Dandakarnia Plateau is, where is the Bastar Plateau, where is Hazaribagh, Ranchi Plateau. At least these kind of things should be known to you. You should also know what is the importance of a plateau, right? You should know that, okay, if it would be a plateau region, what kind of soil can I expect? If it's an alluvial region where there are perennial rivers which are flowing, then what kind of soil can be expected? What would be the properties of the soil which would be found in that particular area? Or what would be the possible soil which would be found in a region where we have high temperatures and high rainfall? So if you just get a hang of these basics, then geography would become a cakewalk. And even though UPSC happened to ask just 3 questions last year in 2016, if you go through the previous years, you would realize that 14, 15, 18 questions were asked, and a lot of those questions did not require some specific knowledge which you could have gained from books as such, but it was more your geographical common sense. And that common sense can be developed over a period of time if you go through the maps regularly, if you go through the books regularly, and try and relate what is written in the maps to written in the books to what is there in the maps. If you could just do that correlation, that say for example, if you read that, okay, which are the major deserts of say Northern America, and once you read about it and then you go on to the map, it would always stay in your memory, right? And then you could also look around for places around that, okay, the Californian desert, which major centers of United States of America are located around Californian desert, right? Which are these major economic centers? So from there you could start drawing a lot of things. I'll give you an example. There was a question which we had framed some time back, that why is the eastern coast of North America more developed as compared to the western coast of North America, right? So obviously there are historical reasons which are associated with this, but there are a lot of geographical reasons associated with this. If you would look into it, because of the connectivity through the Atlantic Ocean, because of number of resource rich regions being located close to the eastern coast of North America, because of the presence of the Great Lakes region and its connectivity which had been established to the Atlantic Ocean, all of these were some of the major reasons because of which the eastern coast of North America was more developed than western coast. Even till today, eastern coast is more developed than western coast, just that on the western coast you have some areas such as California, which is highly developed. But again, that too is not so much because of geographical reasons, but because of certain disruption which happened there, right? Innovation happened and some industries came up and the Silicon Valley got established and all of those things. So you need to understand those basic things. That could be a part of, that could be a question which could be asked to you otherwise also. What do you think are the reasons for the development of Silicon Valley in California, right? So the usual reasons of location of industries will not apply there. वहां पे वो नहीं अप्लाई करेगा. बैंगलोर के अंदर भी अगर आप वो एस्टैब्लिश करने की कोशिश करोगे नहीं अप्लाई करेगा, बिकॉज that's a very different kind of industry. It does not require raw material, or it does not require some other input in terms of transport, etc. There is a very different kind of infrastructure. There is a different kind of labor which is required in these industries. So you have to start relating those things in your mind. I'll give examples of those things. So these were some of the questions which had been asked in the previous years from the atlases, right? Even this question which had been asked in I think 2015 only, where they had asked that which all the following are the of the above are the tributaries of Godavari, right? So you should know which are the major rivers of India: Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri, Brahmaputra, Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Tapi. Only these rivers also, if you know the major tributaries, distributaries, the left bank tributaries, the right bank tributaries, and if you know the major rivers of India, then also that would be fine, because UPSC is not going beyond them, right? Last year also they actually happened to ask the tributaries of Brahmaputra. So it's a very, very simple question to answer. It becomes very factual, but also another thing which you need to know is that in order to remember such factual information which is difficult to remember in geography, because it would seem very random that if I have to remember Indravati and Pranahita are the two tributaries of Godavari, right? It would ratte nahi maar sakenge. So the way you could do that is if you go through the atlas, maybe like say once in a week, you go through the rivers of India, you would definitely remember what are the major rivers of Godavari. In fact, it would also help you that you would remember the general flow of pattern of Godavari also. You would remember the major districts or the major areas through which it flows. So when you are writing something in the mains, let's say it talks about the division of water of Godavari or Kaveri or something which is related to geography, the impact of, let's say they frame a question, the rivers have a very important impact on the socio-economic life of the country. Illustrate with examples. They can give such a question in mains also, right? In that, you should understand that, okay, if you remember the drainage pattern of maybe let's say Ganga or Godavari or Kaveri, and you could just draw it on a very rough map of India, or maybe a very rough map of that particular region, and you could just mark the major districts. You could tell that these are the major regions which have come up, economic regions which have come up because of the presence of Godavari, right? These are the important projects which are there. It would definitely give you 6.5 without any doubt, just that diagram in itself. Even if you write some very less content and if you draw that diagram, you would have got your marks, right? So you have to understand that thing, and that only comes when you keep looking at the maps on a regular basis. I am emphasizing a lot on this because people people think that maps are the things of past and atlases are things of past, and why do we need to look into them? Because if you do not know the geography of a place, lot of other things would go missing. तो बहुत अच्छे से वो maps को देखना and daily basis के ऊपर उसको समझना is a very important thing, right? So this was also another question which had been asked. This was that they had asked in 2014 or 15 only, where they had given the national highways and the cities which are connected, right? So there are certain there is certain guesswork also which can be done. Now there is a new policy, for example, which the government of India has come out with, and which says that all the highways which are running from north to south, they would be numbered even, okay? So, and the highways which are running from east to west will be numbered odd, and the numbering of these highways when they are running from north to south would increase from east to west. So say for example, if this is the map of India, right, whatever it is, so if these are the highways, this will be 1, this will, so sorry, this will be 2, this will be 4, this will be 6, this will be 8, right? So that kind of numbering they came out with. And similarly, if it is running from east to west, and in that case the one which is at the north will be numbered 1, then 3, then 5 and 7, whatever it is, it would be an odd series, this would be an even series, and the number would go on increasing from north to south, and the number would go on increasing from east to west. Now, with the help of something like that, you could have sort of guessed the answer to this particular question. Even if you did not know the exact highway, which is the highway which is connecting Chennai and Hyderabad, or which is the highway which is connecting Mumbai and Kolkata, you could have at least got some kind of a guess in this question. And prelims, it is very important to do guesswork, right? Without guesswork, you would realize that you would be at least losing out on 10 to 15 marks easily in prelims. That guesswork has to be done, right? I'm not saying that you need to do, pinky ponky, but right, but that is not something which has to be done. But at the same time, you need to do some sort of guesswork, because there will be times when the examiner would expect you to do guesswork. There are questions like that. They expect you to do some sort of guesswork, because they put, they understand that it's an objective exam where there are 3 options which have been given, and they sort of expect all of that thing. Okay. Now, some of the questions which have been asked by UPSC in the Hanji. I don't know the rationale. Matlab, it's just an easier way of. I mean, you need to go and ask Mr. Nitin Gadkari for that. But I really don't know. See, one of the ways is that it would be easier to identify the highways, and this is an international. वो भी है. Internationally also there is a way which is it is done, right? So that just the numbering kind of thing would be easier. Okay, so now there were some of the basic questions which have been asked in UPSC. So there are 3-4 kind of questions which are asked. I'm sure Shivi ma'am would have talked about them: basic and fundamental applied, and current affairs based kind of questions. There are some of the basic questions which are asked in prelims. Say for example, they asked about which of the following phenomenon might have influenced the evolution of organism: the continental drift or the glacial cycle. This question could have been simply answered if you would have read your NCERT properly. Right? If you could have read the NCERT Geography class 11th, you would have been able to answer this question. There was another question which was there: the most important fishing grounds of the world are found in the regions where. This was also simply out of the NCERT. There was no fancy stuff which was involved in this particular question. Okay. Now, this was also another question, basic question, where they had asked, they had given some 2 statements, and where they had asked that which of the statements is right or wrong. So they asked that the winds which blow between 30 to 90 degree 30 degree north and 60 degree south latitudes throughout the year are known as westerlies, right? And then they asked the moist air masses that cause winter rains in northwestern regions of India are part of westerlies, right? So this was again something which could have been answered simply if you would have understood what are westerly winds, what are the latitudes in which they blow, right? So then you would have easily realized that the first option is definitely wrong, right? Because it does not make any sense. And then it says that the moist air masses that cause winter rain in the northwestern region are part of the westerlies. If you would have read the NCERT, you would have definitely known that western disturbances are caused because of the presence of westerlies, and you would have been able to answer this particular question. Okay, so that thing is there. Now there was a question these are the applied fundamental questions. Now there was a question which had been asked. This was a question which could have been answered if you would have read something like a GC Leong properly, right? Now this question, again, it says that it gives some condition. So this is the usual pattern which is being adopted by UPSC for last many years, where they will give you some kind of a statement, right? And then they will try, and that will be reflective of some region in India, and then they will try and ask you that which region do you think, not in India, but some climate region in the world, and then they will ask you which region does that particular these conditions belong to, right? And by simply reading, and if you would have just known that what are the characteristics of equatorial climate, you would have been easily able to answer this particular question. Otherwise you could mark any of these, but very basic understanding of the things would have helped you in this, right? Similarly, this question which was there: variations in length of daytime and nighttime from season to season are due to, and then again this particular question could have also been answered through the applied fundamental. Now there are certain questions in geography which are a bit controversial also. Okay, now for example, this particular question was controversial for a long time, till the time UPSC came out with its key, and where it was not very clear in understanding that what is the reason for the South Atlantic and the Southeast Pacific regions in tropical latitude. This was a question which had been asked in 2015, right? So there are certain questions which would always be a bit controversial, and a lot of students were very confused about whether it is option A or whether it is option B, right? Yes, option A and option B. But if you go through some book, I think maybe Savinder Singh or somewhere, the option B has been mentioned as one of the lines there. But again, there will always be questions which are meant to be left also, right? So don't worry so much about it. This reason why I brought up this particular question is it's one of those questions. There will be 100 questions for you to attempt, and it's not that the cutoff is going to be 140 marks, right? So until unless you are appearing for a forestry exam, right, then good luck to you, because it's a very tough game. A lot of students are scoring really high marks, and then it becomes very tough. But otherwise, if you look at prelims civil service examination, the cutoff would hover not anything more than 110, 15, until unless the paper is damn easy, which is not going to happen. So these kind of questions, if you feel that you have that appetite for taking risk and you feel that there are two options which are very close to each other, mark one of them. Otherwise, I would suggest that leave them. Until unless you are really desperate, that you know that, okay, I have already crossed that particular boundary, I have crossed 120, 130, and I'm just going to do it just for the fun of it or for whatever reasons. So then, do it. Otherwise, I would suggest that leave these questions. Do not unnecessarily lose, 1 mark or whatever. कितने marks मिलते हैं? 0.6 मिलता है ना? 0.6 negative होगा ना? If you 0.6 would be lost to this. Why do you do that? Right. Now, this was another question which had been asked. This was asked this year. I don't exactly know where do you put this question, whether you put it in geography, whether you put it in environment or economy, to be honest. This question could have been answered if you would have read the economic survey, actually. So it talked about some of the advantages of drip irrigation. In fact, Aditya is going to take the session on economics, and he is going to tell you that economics, अगर आप पिछले बार का at least paper देखोगे 2016 का, the most important sole source for preparation for the examination was the economic survey. Very important source, right? So this question could have, there was a lot of controversy on this question also. Let's see what key UPSC comes out with. But in our estimate, the answer should be reduction of weed and reduction in soil erosion, because reduction of soil salinity is, in fact, it is said that drip irrigation can lead to greater soil salinity at times. So that is something which we read through the conventional text. But again, that's a point of controversy. And I'm not very sure also what key has been released by Vision on this, but my understanding says that it should be reduction of weed and reduction in soil erosion, because when you have drip irrigation at certain places, excessive water is not available for the weeds to grow. Okay. Now another thing, so this was again the seasonal reversal of wind is typical characteristics of which of the above climate. Is very easy question, even though it's an applied fundamental kind of question, right? Now this question is something which you need to understand, and I always bring this up when I'm talking of prelims, that how if you do not even know some of the things, by some guesswork and by some conceptual understanding of things, you can answer questions properly. So this was a question that which of the following statements regarding lateritic soils of India are correct? They are generally red in color, they are rich in nitrogen and potash, they are well developed in Rajasthan and UP, tapioca and cashew nuts grow well on these soils. Now, if you know what lateritic soil is, if you know what are the kind of conditions in which lateritic soil grows or lateritic soil develops, you will realize that this option is definitely out of the box, right? And uske baad, the only answer which is possible is this. And I don't know, maybe this is my guess, but I somehow feel that UPSC did put in this particular trick to see and to just, confuse you with a lot of options, but they just wanted to check, do you understand what lateritic soil is about? I'm very sure they do not expect the student to know whether it is rich in nitrogen and potash, because that is a very specific kind of information. that is a very that's a very detailed kind of information which might not be possible for each and every student to remember. They also asked, they are generally red in color, yes, almost everyone would know that, but perhaps this particular option, whether this was right or wrong, was a very difficult thing to tell. But what UPSC did very smartly was that you should at least know that it cannot develop in Rajasthan and UP. Because if you understand that lateritic soil is something which develops only in places which have high temperature and high rainfall, alternate cycles of heating and dry spells take place, you would be able to understand that lateritic soil develops there. And that definitely does not happen in Rajasthan and UP. You do not have high temperature and high rainfall, both which is found in Rajasthan and UP. It is only in some of the hill areas of India or northeastern areas of India where, or maybe in some of the coastal areas of India where you find the lateritic soil being developed. So it could have been very easily answered. There was no need for you to go through any other information. ये बहुत ही बड़ा outlier था इसके अंदर, और यहाँ से आप बहुत, and there are questions like this. They give you hints like that, right? But then there will be students, there will be students like that. They will be just bothered about this. या मेरे को नहीं पता था उसमें नाइट्रोजन पोटैश होता है कि नहीं होता है. They do not expect you to be an agricultural scientist for you to know whether nitrogen and potash is there or not, right? And if they do, which they do in some of the questions, then leave that question. Better leave that question, because then it's not meant for, this question is not meant for you. इतनी specific information पूछ रहे हैं आपको, वैसे ही अब इसमें क्या तुक्का मारोगे आप? नाइट्रोजन पोटैश होता है क्या, कैसे करोगे, है ना? So जितनी understanding आपकी existing है उसको utilize करो. That is what has to be done by you, right? If you do that properly, then the rest of the things fall into place themselves. ठीक है. So this is how the entire preparation has sort of to be channelized. One thing which I always tell students, those who are from non-geography background or those who do not have geography as an optional, is that do join some kind of coaching for geography, right? Because it's a very technical kind of a subject, and the NCRTs or the books which are given do not necessarily explain the things in the best possible manner. Even though there are a lot of online lectures also which are there now, right? Free content is there on the YouTube and a lot of those things. Maybe you could utilize them as well. Or plus there are a lot of websites and YouTube channels, not only from India for IAS preparation, etc., but otherwise also, where you could just understand geography. But again, if you want more comprehensive guidance, and if you want some sort of doubt solving and all of those other things also, I would suggest that you join some classes somewhere. Even if you're not joining, say if you're doing the entire preparation on your own, maybe you could take up some classes. Or another good idea would be, if you know some friend of yours who has geography optional, who has a good understanding of it, maybe you can ask him or her for help. Right, so that is something which can be done, but geography does need some guidance. And do whenever you are staying, wherever you are staying, Rajendra Nagar, Mukherjee Nagar, or whichever part of Delhi, please ensure that you do have one friend at least who knows, who has geography as an optional. ठीक है, किसी का geography वाले को, किसी को दोस्त को पकड़ लेना, because and it's important. Geography वाला एक दोस्त पकड़ लेना, एक public administration वाला दोस्त पकड़ लेना, और एक political science वाला पकड़ लेना. ठीक है, so 3 दोस्त ऐसे पकड़ लेना, और हो सके तो इकोनॉमिक्स का भी ले लेना. So these are 4 technical subjects in a way, है ना? So try and find, आज ही यहीं पे ढूंढ लेना 4 दोस्त, and you know, because then it will be easier for you to understand a few of the things, especially geography हो गया and political science. Some of the things they will be easily able to explain it to you if they have it as an optional, right? And हाँ, ऐसा मत पकड़ना जो कि खुद नहीं पढ़ता हो. You don't find someone who doesn't know the subject himself. Another thing, another question, doubt which is asked is that, is it necessary to read the NCRTs from class 6 to 10th of the world geography? So it is not. I'll tell you the reason for that, because if you are doing the GC Leong properly, then things will be much easier for you to understand. Now, why those last 11 chapters of GC Leong are also important, I'll just elaborate upon that. See, when it says economic, physical and social geography of India and world, फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी, कौन सा माउंटेन कहाँ पर है, कौन सी रिवर्स कहाँ पर हैं, हाउ हैव द माउंटेन्स कम इनटू बीइंग, हाउ हैव द रिवर्स ओरिजिनेटेड, व्हाट इज द काइंड ऑफ climate which is found in some place, and all of that could be understood by you through the basic NCERTs. But the next part is that how do you relate this physical information of geography to some socio-economic aspects, right? So say for example, why is uh, some particular region, as I said, more developed than the other regions? Why are the hinterlands of India less developed than other regions? Or why, say for example, if I ask you that why are the major electricity producing regions of India or the major industries of India, why are they located only in certain belts, right? And why are they not located in several other belts? Say, if I have to talk about iron ore, right? You would understand that iron ore is a very important and an essential component of any of the iron and steel industry. But the major iron and steel industries of India actually came up either in the Chhattisgarh belt or they came up in the Jharkhand belt, right? Even though the best of the best iron ore is also found in regions around Karnataka, Bellary, and Kudremukh region, etc. In spite of that, it took a long time for the iron ore industry to get established to that level in Karnataka. The reason for that is that another raw material which was required was coal, which was not readily and easily available in that part of the country. So वो सोश इकोनॉमिक्स से रिलेट करना उस फिजिकल एस्पेक्ट को इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? सिमिलरली यू हैव टू ऑल्सो रिलेट द सोशल लाइफ ऑफ पीपल with the geography of a certain region. I always give this example that you would have seen how people in Rajasthan wear these big headgears, right? Yes, it does look very fancy. Yes, it might just be fashionable for the people, but not for people those who reside in Rajasthan. It is a part of the tradition and culture because it's there to prevent them from the attack of the hot winds which blow in these regions, right? So that therefore you will see that the people would wear long clothes there, or maybe if you go to the Middle East, you will find that people would wear long clothes there. One of the reasons for that is that they want to prevent themselves from the hot winds which blow in these regions. So the social life is also impacted, right? The economics is impacted. So all of those things, if you understand them properly, it will become much easier, right? There's something very interesting, for example, which is mentioned in your GC Leong, which talks about that there is even in spite of great production of why has sorry, there is this maize belt which is there in United States of America, right? And the steppe regions of America, and in this the maize belt where large corn and maize is produced, there is a lot of pork industry which has come up in these regions, right? One of the reasons for that is because they have one of the they have such great production of corn which takes place in that region that they leave the fields open for the pigs to just go and eat the entire corn, and once the pigs become fat, then they are slaughtered, right? So that's the kind of very interesting information which is given there. So it tells you that how the physical conditions in a particular place are impacting the socio-economic life of people in that particular region. So it's very important that you relate those information, and that particular section of your preparation, chapter number whatever 14 to 25 of the GC Leong, is very, very crucial in that sense. Try and look into the map as much as you can when you're reading those chapters, and try and relate it to whatever you read in physical geography also. Jitna usko aap karoge, things will become easier and you will be able to cross relate a lot of things. And this is also, I'm hoping that as someone who teaches geography, I hope that they increase the number of questions next year in prelims, right? So because I happened, this is just a joke to share. There was a student in one of the geography prelims advanced batch who came to me after the examination last year, and he said, sir, thank you so much, जो आपने पढ़ाया था उससे बहुत अच्छे questions आए थे geography में. So I could not understand that whether that was in sarcasm or or was that a real appreciation, because I looked at the paper and I knew that there were only three questions which had been asked from geography. So maybe either this, I really don't know. Maybe he was trying to just be sarcastic about it. But yeah, so that is there. But again, I'm very sure that there are going to be more questions which are going to be there in geography. So do not take it so lightly. UPSC has this habit of flipping around things. They happen to ask a lot of questions from current affairs this year. You never know what is going to happen in 2017. Right, so this is pretty much which is there from my side. I'll just leave it to you for any of the questions which you have on geography. Yes. Okay, so environment, Aditya sir is going to come. So environment and geography, even though they are very closely related, but because since he's going to be the faculty for environment and he's also at Vision and he's also going to take the session on that, so he will elaborate on that. But वैसे मैं एक बात बता दूं, environment के लिए even though there are few sources which are there which he's going to talk about, the Hindu remains to be one of the most important sources of preparation. I also got this mail few days back by a student that which I could not reply to. In fact, I have not replied to a lot of mails which I have received over last almost 15-20 days. Apologies for that. I would make sure that that's done as soon as possible. There was a mail which was there by the student that, sir, Hindu, it is said, is becoming irrelevant now and we should shift to Indian Express. Well, that might just be true, but I think that Hindu still remains to have some really good quality content. So it could be read for simply that purpose. And as I told last time also, what you could do is that you could have Hindu as your base paper and Indian Express could be used for editorials, or you could use Indian Express for as the base paper and Hindu could be used for editorials. But to say that Hindu is no longer the source as such or becoming irrelevant is completely bunkum, because this year itself in prelims and mains there were a lot of questions which were straight asked out of the Hindu only, and these news items were not covered so much in the other newspapers. Anything else? Yes. Yeah, you can. So if you're not able to understand some of the concepts in that, I would suggest that you read through the total geography and see total geography. Completely skip मत करना, but एक बार ये कर सकते हो that once you read through total geography, then you will get an understanding of things, right? So then you could go back to that NCERT and then it will be easier for you to understand. The reason I'll tell you why I'll not suggest to completely skip is क्योंकि बहुत सारे क्वेश्चन ना डायरेक्टली NCERT से ही बनते हैं, तो वो इजी रहेगा आपके लिए बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन रिकलेक्ट करना इफ यू हैव रेड दी एनसीईआरटी, राइट? एनीथिंग? यस, हाँ जी. अच्छा, so very specific query with respect to geography optional, you could meet me after the class, we could discuss that. Yes. GC Leong, so you have chapters 13 to 11 to 25, and if at all you want to, then chapter number 1 to 4 could also be read. ठीक है. चैप्टर वन नंबर वन एक्चुअली ना इंपॉर्टेंट है, वो पढ़ ही लेना. चैप्टर नंबर वन में देर आर कॉन्सेप्ट सच एज इंटरनेशनल डेट लाइन एंड टाइम जोन्स एंड लैटिट्यूड्स एंड लॉन्गिट्यूड्स विच आर मेंशन्ड, विच आर नॉट गिवन वेरी वेल इन दी एनसीईआरटी और एनी अदर सोर्स. सो डू रीड थ्रू दैट. एनी अदर डाउट? यस प्लीज. NCERT for world geography, for mains you are talking. So I always suggest that there are two topics which are there: key location, location of key resources and key natural resources, and the location factors for the industries. For the location of key natural resources, you could go through the Vision IS material. It's a very well prepared material. And as far as the location of industries is concerned, I think Mrunal, he had some material which he prepared in 2013, which is there in the archives on his website. That's been prepared really well. So you could go through that material. वो अच्छा है काफी, वो आप देख सकते हो. हाँ जी. So there are, see, it would be better that so this book for example, Fundamentals of Human Geography, textbook for class 12th, ये जो दिया हुआ है, ठीक है, और इसमें वर्ल्ड ट्रेड और वर्ल्ड इस सब के बारे में चीजें दी हुई हैं. I would suggest that there are some chapters which are like really important. That's why मैंने आपका ना यूनिट 3 ही बोला है. आप एटलीस्ट यूनिट 3 पढ़ लो, वो ज्यादा नहीं है, सिर्फ 5 चैप्टर्स हैं वो, राइट? 31 to 81, 50 pages only. ठीक है. So just read through these pages properly. एटलीस्ट आप इतना कर लो, राइट? रेस्ट व्हेन यू रीड थ्रू योर अदर बुक, थिंग्स विल बी क्लियर. यार देखो, अब ये तो कहना मतलब मुश्किल है कि क्वेश्चंस आर आस्क्ड ओनली फ्रॉम दीज चैप्टर्स एज सच, बट आई एम सेइंग दैट मिनिमल रीडिंग यू कुड रीड थ्रू चैप्टर्स 5 to 9. If at all you want to read more, then you could read chapter 1 to 4 also. Chapter number 10 is not supposed to sort of mean much for the students, those who are preparing for prelims or general studies as such. ठीक है. हाँ जी, और कोई डाउट? फिजिकल ज्योग्राफी ह्यूमन ज्योग्राफी के कंपैरिजन में थोड़ा टफ है. आप ऑप्शनल की बात कर रहे हो या जीएस की बात कर रहे हो? So see, that's why I said कि physical geography, the problem is it's actually not that tough, but it's tough to understand because it's very conceptual in nature, and you need, and technical also, so you need someone to help you with that. ठीक है? And that's why I said either you need some teacher, so join either classes join कर लो, और कुछ lectures ढूंढ लो कुछ कहीं पे where the entire syllabus of physical geography has been covered, or as I said that find someone who can help you with geography. ठीक है? So that's the only way. But otherwise I know, I understand what you're trying to say, because human geography के questions क्या होते हैं, they can be solved by application. But physical geography questions are very conceptual in nature, and they require that understanding only, and that clarity has to be there. And that's why I say that NCERT सिर्फ पढ़ के ना समझ में नहीं आती हैं बहुत सारी चीजें. You do not really understand the concept of jet streams, or the concept of monsoon, or the concept of formation of deserts. बहुत सारे students को बहुत समय तक trade winds और westerlies और इन सब में बहुत confusion रहता है, and which happens to a lot of people. So for that, the best thing is that you join some classes or something or whatever. ठीक है? Any other doubt? Okay, so that's pretty much from my side. My email ID is jatin.g@visionis.in. Please do not, please try and ask queries which I have sort of not addressed in any of the lecture here, or there is one more lecture which we organize, open session which we organize for the art of answer writing, right, where we discuss about the keywords, or there is one more session which we organize for the mains preparation, right? So if you ask me the same repeated questions that which are the books I should refer, then it would be a disservice to yourself, because I would not be able to answer queries to a lot of other students, because there is only limited time which I have in life. So, so I can't just repeat things again and again, right? So I would request that ask queries which are which have sort of not been addressed here. Otherwise, if you want to meet me, or if you want to set up an appointment, just mail it to me, and then I'll reply to that, and then we could meet at a mutually convenient time at the Karol Bagh office, right? So if any other issue is there, you could always mail that to me. ठीक है? Fine. Thank you so much, and you can always reach out to me. I already told you about someone came to me last time and asked, "Sir, आपका नाम क्या है?" It was a mystery or something. So you could always ask. ठीक है? Okay. All the best.